Mr. Jovonta Patton and his lovely wife, Symone Patton. We are getting ready to dive into this. We just did this first segment. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate the willingness to come out, like I said, and also shout out to you. I know you're stellar winner here.
Thank you so much.
So great work there. And maybe as we get into it, introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about the fun. Then we're gonna get into how the church lied about love as we get into it. So
Yeah, I'm Jovonta Patton, singer. And yeah.
All right, I am Symone Patton, and I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I've been married to this guy for 10 years, and I also do a lot with lessening the homeownership gap for people of color.
Oh, love that. And as we get into that, because I mean, they're amazing, dope, all this good stuff. You guys have been married for over a decade.
Yes.
Right? Been together for how long?
12.
How did you grow up in church? Tell us a little about your church journey, like that, because we're talking about, how the church lied about love and realized that, again, lied, it's like not, like, hey, are we sure it's lied? Maybe not lied, right? What would we rather say? And talk to me a little bit about your church journey, and then we'll get into it.
I grew up in church. Church was great. I actually saw, to be fair and fortunate, I saw very healthy marriages at the church I grew up at. Very clear, the church I grew up at, Berean Missionary Baptist Church. We had a list of couples that were in the church. The Pattons, the Thomases, the Abbotts. It was just, and these people still exist. They're still married today. It probably wasn't until I ventured off to other churches where I started to see marriage be a little bit more, a lot of infidelity, a lot of people marrying each other's former husband, and just crazy work. I know, same thing I did. So,
that's what we doing.
Yeah. So I didn't see that till later. So I would say my formative years, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I saw very healthy marriages. Even my grandparents to death did them part. So.
Love that. How about you?
I did not grow up in church.
Okay.
I gave my life to Christ.
Did you say good? How'd you get?
I gave my life to Christ at 19, and that was a self-act. So I got a chance to see other things in life and really wanted to know who the Lord was. So, yeah, I did that at 19, and I got the opportunity to experience a really healthy love, and that was my first love, which caused me to get married. So my first healthy relationship.
Oh, I love that. So you're younger. So when we talk about getting married young, how do you think that how did the church prepare you to get married young? You had great examples and role models of it. You came to it and came and got the benefit of a man who had that, right? Yeah. So how did getting married young influence, you think, your marriage and what the church informed you of?
I would say how it's influenced it now, being in our 30s. Early 30s.
Come on, early 30s.
But being early 30s, I would say probably good now. But in the beginning, it kind of was, and it wasn't, it never was us. I actually can say it never was us. There were things that we needed to work on, but all of our stuff was normal growing pains. They were not anything alarming. Like the stuff that I just noticed, like, us being married so early and then having children, I felt like the people that would see our moments, because I wouldn't even say they were issues, they were just moments
that all human people and all relationships go through. Yeah,
I feel like they exaggerated because of their experience or their chaotic way of dealing with things. Because now when I look at I was talking to a couple the other day, and they had the only issue they had was, hey, I just want him to do more with the kid at home when he is home. I said, Simona said the same thing. I just want to congratulate you that this is nothing alarming. This kid is only going to be this age for another 2-3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like these are things that you'll be able to jump over. I just wish I was counseled in that frame of mind where it's like, that's not worth y'all breaking up.
Well, and also when looking back at being 22, 23, there were so many people that attempted to discourage our seriousness. And that was frustrating because if somebody's 21, 22, 23, let them believe them for what they're saying and serious about a relationship and a marriage that they're wanting to forge forward, because you're going to take them seriously when they come out of college and have a career. You're not going to question that.
Oh,
So this is part of my life, just like a career would be, just like education would be. So that was a thing that frustrated me a lot. Like, take me serious enough, because I'm married. I got married and here we are 10 years later, still married.
Absolutely.
So we were serious at that time. And because they didn't take it serious and attempted to discourage so much, it was so much warfare. Like, you have so many negative things to say, but what's positive?
yeah.
What's positive in this? What can you say that can help me? Say, well, okay, when you start off, you're going to have some growing pains. You're going to learn how to be one. There's going to be little things that don't matter that frustrate you that you can work through. Those things weren't talked about. So we had to figure it out by ourselves while still discouragement was happening.
And that's a really powerful point, this notion that young people are discovered. I mean, we call it puppy love to start with.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then we start to, like I said, to consistently, to your point, discount it or discredit as if there's a magical age, which right? Again, we're watching people 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I know somebody who just ended a 41-year-old marriage.
Wow.
And so you're right, is that love is love, and that it doesn't have an age piece. And what many people are passing on from the church are their own fears, frustrations, or, disappointments, right? So when you think about how you've overcome that in the church, right? Because everybody has their own experiences. So when you think about the lessons you have gotten from the church that have been supportive or helpful, where have those come from and how have those showed up for you?
For me, those have come from examples very far off and far in between. We talk about TV a lot. Yeah. We do. Like, TV has bad examples. But the truth is, social media has some really great couples that will give you more options than just looking at one person and how they failed or how they are succeeding as your only roadmap. So I feel like for me, I like people like DeVal Ellis, him and his wife, Kadeen. Just great examples, raising their kids, him in show business, his wife in business. It was like, this is a great example. Another example I love, a guy by the name of Travis Jennings and his wife, Stephanie Jennings. They pastor a church called the Harvest Tabernacle in Lithonia.
Georgia.
Yeah,
okay.
Lithonia, Georgia.
They were great examples. You know what I'm saying? Even back in the day, I still thought that Will Smith and Jada, and I'm not saying that anything has changed because I don't know their personal life, but from afar off, sometimes I don't need your details. Sometimes I just need to see what I have seen, the model, and that inspired me to want to do better. And that's all I need, because one thing that becomes dangerous is when you tell me your truth and it makes me hopeless.
Seriously.
Say that again. Because again, when it comes to the church and oftentimes the way some models have come, that's what it is. It's their truth.
It's their truth. And it makes others hopeless because you didn't find no hope. In your truth. Like, I ain't got to go through that because that's your story.
And they always, so many people that talk about, I just like, marriage is not a bad thing. It's not a death sentence. Like, you don't have to make it this. And when I read a scripture in Songs of Solomon that said, drink and be merry with your spouse, like, enjoy your spouse, go and have fun, have a life with your spouse. You're supposed to have these things. It doesn't mean that you don't get to enjoy life with them. Yeah. And I want people to understand that too. Like,
and a lot of people are just boring. So then they feel like
the church promoted fun, didn't it? No.
Yeah, and it's just like you just boring in general. So you ain't got no social life. So now you think because you married, you gotta just stop this and start that. Can't dress up for your spouse. Can't do that. Can't go it's like, what are we doing?
And that is a big message again for, like, I remember some of the messaging in church, and it was this.
Like, don't you want to look nice? You want your spouse to look at you and be like, oh, that's me. That's all me right there.
I can share this, can I?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to do, y'all. So all y'all
Sh-
watching, I'm trying to share.
Share it. So yeah, you can definitely
Yeah,
share it.
since it's live, where I go to,
Yeah,
what is
so
it?
it's on. You can go share it from Dessert and Discussion. You can go to that or I Declare Love podcast, or it's been also shared on my page.
Okay.
But you can definitely share this from there. But I'm grateful for, like I said, this notion as he's sharing it out. Dessert and Discussion is where you want to go share it from.
I'm gonna find it. I was tagged, y'all, and now I forgot to share it.
Sorry, we'll get it. We'll get it out to.
Yes.
We'll get it out
She's
to.
doing so good. They must hear what she
It's this. I love this statement around this boredom thing, because one of the things I think when we think about how the church, at least how the church lied about love, it is this very sterilized version of what a good marriage looks like, particularly a good wife. Like, I think wives get the backside of this about, when I think about what they teach about what a wife is.
Come on.
Yeah.
From the church, how have you had to break free from that mold and model? Because it definitely didn't come with dress up and look good for your spouse. So in many places.
I've had so many random just things said to me, like, do not wear red lipstick because it's Jezebel.
I like me.
I love my red ruby wool. Ruby wool.
Lipstick.
And just certain things about going to concerts or enjoying date night. And I'm like, listen, there's something I learned. There's a difference between holiness and preference. That's your preference. That doesn't mean that it's not holy, because God examines the heart. It's not about the outward appearance. It's not about those elements.
I'm gonna need you to pause. Run that back one time. There's a difference
between holiness and preference. I've also really thought about certain things, and I'm like, there's a difference between etiquette and holiness. I'm not gonna go to the beach with a suit on, and I'm not gonna get on the pulpit with a swimsuit. There's a difference
I would
between
be blessed if she preached
between etiquette and holiness. So people get that confused with the outward appearance, and God always talks about him not being concerned with that. He's concerned with your heart posture. And so when I'm enjoying my spouse, what the scripture says, drink and be merry, what that really means is enjoy your time together, live life, experience, be adventurous, be spontaneous. My spouse should look at me and enjoy what they see visually. Yeah. They have the opportunity to do that, not other people, but I'm one with him. So he should be able to like what he sees, and I should be able to like what I see.
And most of the time, if don't nobody want your spouse, you probably don't either.
Well, and then you're not enjoying your spouse, and then you're opening yourself up to all this lust because you're not taking the time to now enjoy each other. Now my eyes are wandering, and I'm dealing with the lust of the eye because I'm not experiencing my spouse in the way that I really should.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. This notion again, because the church don't talk about that, like I said, and Pastor Stebo on the first part of this again talked about, you get married and it's done. The work of the marriage is this piece, right? Keeping up one's appearances. And so when you think about, and I think you mentioned it, this idea that you had these great models for marriage and what that looks like, and like I said, and just healthy relationships in general. What would you share? Or some insights or perspectives you've gained from having a healthy, happy marriage and relationship again? Because though this is how the church lied about love, again, I want all the lovers in training who are listening to also walk with LIT, lovers in training is what we call it, because we're all learning to love and grow in love.
Yeah, I would say I guess the first thing I learned was most of them were deacon and deaconess. So I learned that being in marriage, y'all just, did ministry together. You know what I'm saying? It's like, she got on white, you got on black. They had roles in ministry together. So I didn't know what it really looked like for me to be married and my wife not active. I never really came from a church with a female-male power struggle. I saw my pastor and I saw his wife. She preached, he preached. He prayed for people, she prayed for people. You know what I'm saying? So I always seen that. I never felt like my only claim to fame or the only time I got heard was when I was with the microphone. So I learned early on in marriage that marriage, for me being a Christian and just knowing that I work in church, that it would probably be best if I find a girlfriend that's into church. For me, you know what I'm saying? That's not for everybody. Everybody can't force their wife to like church like you like it. And I think that's where a lot of people go downhill. But that was her personal interest, and now we can connect the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we didn't get married. I didn't get married to get elevated in someone's ministry. I got married because I wanted a girlfriend. I wanted a wife, and so we just happened.
Pause right there. Pause right there. Run it back, Reverend. Run it back.
I didn't get married to be elevated in someone's ministry, because sometimes in church people get married. If I get married, I can now be the pastor. I can now preach more. They'll take me more serious. None of those checklists for church ever went through my head, because I just know I didn't need that. And then too, thanks be unto God, I already had a platform in church that no one gave me but God.
Yeah.
So I was already like doing what I had to do. So if you come into my life, people are going to like me whether I'm single or married. And that's kind of what you have to condition people early on, that don't get married for people to like you more.
Oh.
Or dealing with an identity crisis.
Yeah, don't get
or
married for people
needing
like
to be
you
accepted. Yeah.
And that's a big deal. And so what Pastor says, you talk about how the church lied about love, is that is a very real thing. This notion that if I'm married, I am more valuable in church.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where you saw a lot of preachers will push you to get married, and those same preachers will be quiet when you get divorced. They really don't know how to counsel you in actual marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's a one size fits all. Hallelujah. Be fruitful and multiply. Like, I hate when people tell couples be fruitful and multiply, because that scripture, if you really think about it, multiplication is 3. So if I'm going to be fruitful, I can't have 3 kids every time I have sex. So that's not what that has to mean, because there's some woman that's married and she's barren.
Well, and that applied to back then, whatever that scripture was, not in context.
Yeah, and the thing is, Adam and Eve's assignment on the earth is not ours now.
Yeah, I mean, they were having to populate an entire earth.
So when people say that to new married couples, it's like that's Adam and Eve's charge when they eloped, not you and Symone's charge when you elope.
Yeah.
Be fruitful and go live in California. Be fruitful and go own a car dealership. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever your next thing is, be fruitful in it. Don't just make it children.
You have a bunch of people that you're telling them make children, and they might not be off stable as well to manage what you keep telling them to have.
Family ain't got the support.
And now you're asking them to give, but then in the same regard, they need you to give to them, because they done made all these kids that they now can't take care of.
They can't and even if they can take care of
managing,
it starts to become the woman got to do it. The man, it's like you bit off more than you can chew. You don't know
something's
the families.
Gonna give.
You know, it's just so many different things. And then it pulls you away from each other, because if you're a real good parent, most real women start to focus on their children over the man. And it's not even a bad thing. It's just a first instincts thing if you are a healthy mother.
If you're
going to give up something. It's going to be time. It's going to be money. Whatever it might be, career, you're going to give up something.
You may not be ready for that.
Yeah.
I know some married couples ain't never had a kid and they happily married.
Yes.
Or they have kids later and it is the perfect time.
Or they have the amount that they actually can manage.
Yeah. So I just think we have to figure out what your be fruitful and is, and not just be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, and what are you multiplying?
Yes, what are you multiplying?
Human being.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Multiply the business, multiply the savings, multiply the influence. You know, it's like
multiply the kingdom, multiply.
Yes.
There may be many things, and I love that point. And it's one, again, for all the lovers in training that are listening in, is that you got to identify what's your ministry. What is your divine assignment?
What did y'all come together to multiply?
What did you come together to multiply? Because if God's going to put you together, the question becomes, what's now possible that wasn't possible if our marriage didn't exist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the couples he mentioned that we love, the Jennings, he said one time, you know, you all complement each other. You don't compete with each other. And I just thought that was so impactful, because sometimes when you have an expectation, a false expectation going in to a relationship or a marriage, or even in your growth spurts of a marriage, you have to be careful to never look at it as, oh, well, they're doing better than me, or I'm in a different space than you. It's not a competition. Complimenting each other, we're continuing to grow with one another, and we're supporting where each other are at in our growth, individually and collectively.
No, love it. And so to that point of supporting growth, I think there's another piece that, how would you explain or share again the lesson one may have gotten and that you get it to share?
No, I'm still looking for it. But I see it's in a private group. And I'm not in a group.
So we're going to take a 5-minute here to make sure that all the people, because again, this is a good discussion. It's like there's a difference in assignment and assessment. Yes, indeed. I am going to share it right now. Deserving discussion for all of you that are online. We're gonna all do this together because we don't want nobody to miss out on this good blessing.
So you're sharing on the Alex
for your marriage.
Page.
I am so deserving discussion. I'm sharing it now on my personal page.
Okay.
And then that way you are tagged in it as well.
Oh, sound good. No, keep it on.
No, as the people get this. Did I? Oh, that's you.
Let me see. Okay, you share it on your personal. You share it on.
We got a great comment from Stephen Thompson too. If you want to
go ahead. What's so since there's a difference in assignment and assessment.
That's good.
And as you were just talking about this comparison or not comparing yourself, what I wanted to talk again, I feel like the messages, at least that I hear as I talk to couples that I coach and counsel, or even just single women particularly, this notion of being a helpmeet.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And since you are let's talk about again how the church may have lied about that and what you have learned about that.
Well, first off, can I start?
Go.
Come on, Pastor.
Well,
come on.
The first thing about the helpmeet concept is this. When we look at Adam and Eve, Adam already had an assignment. A lot of men talk about they need a helpmeet, or women saying they helping a man, but he has no assignment, no God-given assignment. So the thing was, Eve came to assist Adam, okay? Here we are in today's time. We're not Adam and Eve, okay? That means helpmeets may be you coming to assist a woman, because Adam and Eve already assisted Adam to get us where we are today. So now this assistance may have to humble your ego, and you may have to help the actress. You may have to help the model who your wife is. I see a lot of men that we consider now domestic men, because the woman making so much money is almost silly for you to go and do something. And so a lot of men, my wife came into my life, I did need help because I already had a God-given assignment. And so just because she's my helpmeet does not mean that's the only thing that God has called her to meet.
And he also gave him Eve because Adam was lonely. People don't talk about that part. It's not
the loneliness part.
Yeah,
let's get into it.
He was by himself.
After
he said,
all that work,
God's
lonely.
like, I'm here with you, and you're in my presence every day, all day, but something's missing. So you need a companion. You need somebody there. And so people talk about helpmeet as far as your gender role in this role, but they don't talk about the emotional concepts of needing somebody in companionship.
Yes.
And that's really what I look at it as the just of. I support who you are in your God-given role. You support who I am, and we emotionally support one another in the spaces that we need to be filled up in.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, because God took Adam out of what we would call church today. He took him out of work, and after he had spent time with God, after he had did his due diligence in his God-given assignment with work, he was still lonely. And a lot of people keep trying to fulfill their love with church and with work, and you'll still go home lonely.
Yeah, he saw his emotions, and he knew that he needed
community.
Yeah, community connection. And I think that's a really powerful point and perspective to keep is this reality that helpmeet is not just the activity of doing something. It's like my very presence is a help.
Is a help to
you.
Yes.
And I'm not your lead administrative assistant, because that's what we have made the helpmeet be taught. Is I'm the lead administrator of this man. And it's not that.
And I'm like, a woman is not helpless. if she's
Right.
not just tending to you and nothing else. Like, we have duties too. There's Deborah in the Bible who was a judge. There's Miriam who led an army. There are all these women. Who saw Jesus first? A woman. Women have assignments and roles too. It's not just, okay, I do everything that you need me to do, and then there's nothing left.
And that's, I mean, I think that's the pieces, right? Like, I'm not subservient.
Right.
Even though I may serve you.
Tell them what that means.
I'm not subservient, meaning that I'm not here underneath you. I'm not less than you, and I'm not on it. I'm not here to serve you. I'm not less than you. Essentially, it's the essence, and sometimes that's how the church positioned women as subservient. I mean,
we didn't come out the feet.
Words.
We came out the side.
Yeah, and I think it just wasn't the church fault. It's just hierarchy.
Interpretation.
Not
society
even
at the time.
Society more than patriarchy.
Okay.
That's just what happens, and that was just a norm in culture.
And
now,
gender roles was normal.
Yeah, and honestly, and I think some gender roles should come back. Because now we have a lot of women trying to be something that they're naturally not.
That's true.
I'm not trying to be an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to be you. I don't need no stage. I just want to come home. I want to cook, gossip with my friends, clean, and have sex with you when you done and take these kids on to school. Some women are still waiting for the man to say, I don't want to do all that. Now social media and these bad girl group chats have created this, I got to do more than what I need to prove myself to somebody. The biggest thing is competing with somebody that God sent to help you.
Oof, that's deep.
Run that back. We've done that a couple times here on the I Declare Love podcast. Hopefully you can be picking up these gems, because whether you went to church or didn't go to church, I do desire that we all go in love. And so take whatever you get. Again, I love your pastor and your church. And I want you to ensure you go in love. So run that back.
Competing with someone that God sent to help you. And in church, a lot of women and men do that when church people try to make one popular more than the other. It's like, I love you.
My ministry is better.
Yeah, and you know,
you're being
it's
more divisive than you.
Look at the pew ministry we got here.
Erica, what up? I saw Marvin.
Hey, y'all.
You know what's funny? Marvin, one of the pastors of the church, he's watching. Our daughter, Callie, we were waiting to get in.
Yes.
And she said, what'd she say? Call
Marvin. He got the answer.
He got the answer.
Yes, Marvin. Thank you for being a light.
Okay, she said, call Marvin.
I mean, like, what are we doing?
She sees him as the answer. He is a good answer to a lot of stuff. He is a good answer. But yeah, just a lot of times what people have to understand that we are on the same team. Mm-hmm. So being on the same teams gives us the same goal, but that doesn't mean we do the same thing. We just have the same goal. We don't do the same thing.
And don't treat your partner like a business. Please.
Thank you. Say that again, because there's been a lot of terms. I've been seeing that a lot where it's like marriage is a business. It is not.
Unless y'all making like hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Well, that's an element of your marriage. But
it's not even an element of your marriage. It's a business. And you guys are business partners in that phase of your life. But your marriage has to be a sacred space.
Do not.
And you have to keep it as such, because otherwise
and you better learn to turn it off. If you do business together, you better learn to turn it off when it's time to. And
then too, every married couple does not need to be in business together. That's the other thing. Because a lot of times people, you have all these ideas, and then it's just like this way where I just automatically get to push mine into it, and that can cause so much friction. Gone are the days where you're the janitor and I work at the school and we meet back at home, and both of our jobs do not, you know what I'm saying, coincide. You go to work together, you go to church together, you raise kids together. Sometimes it can be too much just for you as a human that you don't have anything to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we all need variety in life. And so, and because social media, and not even social media, because
Somebody said, if your last name is Kardashian, it's okay. That's all I'm saying. Let me and Symone making a couple million, baby. We are partners. I love you too. Buy the books, okay? We'll figure it out after.
Y'all missed what I said.
But know that love, right? They totally missed all. They told you, I'm here with you first. I got you. But no, it's the reality is that in our day and age, as we talk about relationships in the 21st century, and a God that is everlasting, that is fully expansive and can ride with the times, is that our relationships, like I said, so love is unconditional, relationships are not.
That's good. That's good.
That is good.
That's good.
And so we have to be able to understand how to build relationships. And it has nothing to do with if I love you or don't love you. It has nothing to do if I love God or if God loves me.
And here's the thing. We build a lot of relationships when we talk about, since we're talking about marriage in church, a lot of relationships from church are built on loyalty to the pastor individually, not collectively.
Wow.
You have more of a relationship with the pastor because that's your
By
pastor,
yourself.
what you think, your relationship. And a lot of times, women who are in a pastor's church are more married to the pastor than they are their husband. Because what the pastor says trumps what my husband says. But the pastor's wife ain't listening to your husband. Why you gotta listen to him? And it's one thing to be under leadership and authority, but it's another thing when it becomes cultish and witchcraft, and then all the women in the church look like your concubines.
We're gonna just let that sit. I don't want nobody's pastor DMing me because I didn't do it. That's
You're
what.
not telling my wife what to do at my house. I love you. And I'm not telling nobody's husband's wife what to do. Nobody's wife what to do in their house.
But my pastor said.
Just those things are very off limits. And I think, and here's how you know that exists. As soon as you start going through something, the woman feels more comfortable going to the pastor and going to church than dealing with you.
You are trying to get people kicked out of church on the I Declare Love podcast.
You created this.
Know that I love, again, no pastors, if your membership drop, don't go. And that's a real thing, because I remember very specifically, if I'm being really honest, again, I remember when we started going, because we didn't grow up in church either. I didn't grow up in church. I went as a teenager, and I went first. My mom was like, they have a thing down at the church when we take you, yes, because I wanted to get out of the house. But anyway, she did, best thing ever happened. But I can remember when she started going, because my whole family came to Christ because I started going to church. And I'm like, God, do I get some extra points for this? But my father struggled with my mom. Because, when you new to church can be a lot. I was there on Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, all the things. And my father struggled a little bit with my mom being that involved.
That committed.
And I remember the day she decided to not do it. And at that time, I was like, please, but she was under the same thing. It was like, my husband, I will honor.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is my priority. Y'all can go ahead and keep going to church.
Yep.
We will support you, and I will come to your church things.
Yes.
But I cannot afford to
lose my marriage for your ministry.
And at that time, as a 17, 18-year-old girl, it for me personally, I was like, oh, this is dumb, and this is why. And so I didn't support marriage as a concept, because I thought, I'm like, oh, if you get married, you don't get to be yourself.
Wow.
You don't get to be or do what you want to do. There is a consideration to the partner and what the impact would be. And even just hearing you say that now literally just gave me a different view of what that, until this very much. See, we delivering people on the I Declare Love podcast.
Thank you, Lord God. Yeah, and I just think we have to let the conversation of marriage evolve.
Yeah.
That's it. We have to let the conversation of being single evolve, because everybody is not born to be married. No. Some people are happily single.
Marriage is a ministry.
It's a ministry. I tell like
music.
Yeah, exactly. I tell people singleness is not a cancer and marriage is not a cure. So you have to No.
Just one more time.
Singleness is not a cancer and marriage is not a cure, because a lot of people are sick that's married.
Miserably married, as I like to call
Miserably
them.
married.
Yeah.
And then and what's the time? Misery comes from you creating your marriage like a whole bunch of other people that never should have had a say-so in it. Well, we do it like this. And babe, we got to do it like this. Figure out what your spouse like. But I mean, you shouldn't be figuring it out when you get married, but even if you are,
Well,
figure it out the way that y'all like to do stuff. Like, what do y'all like to do? Not what the pastor said y'all should do, or figure out what y'all like to do. We go have a lot of different fun things that we got.
yeah,
And the
random
kids have fun.
without high expectations. Like, we do what we like to do. But I also think the church really should talk more about conflict resolution.
Yes.
And it's just not a topic of discussion. Just because you have a difference doesn't mean now you got to not talk to a person for a week, or your partner or your spouse for a week, or y'all ain't on the same page anymore. No, let's collaborate. What's your understanding? What's my understanding? Conflict resolution builds growth.
Yeah.
It builds good boundaries even within your marriage, to knowing how to respect each other. And it's just not discussed. So when there's little fires that happen and issues that happen, one of the spouses could be running to the pastor and what should I do? No, that you should be returning that back and saying, okay, you guys need to resolve this. Just one little difference doesn't mean that your marriage is over and mean that you guys aren't on the same page anymore and you're going in different
For 5
directions.
seconds.
No,
Yeah.
let's talk about how to resolve this, because conflict is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to resolve. It's an opportunity to learn more about your spouse and how they're growing. And we have to give people more grace to grow. I'm giving you the grace to grow. Where I met you when we started dating at 22, I don't expect you to be that same person at 33.
Exactly.
You're
Somebody
not.
said conflict resolution is a problem at church. It's an issue at church.
It's a skill
just
that
needs to be
nobody
talked about
learns.
in
I
general.
totally feel I agree. And here's the thing: being married and being in ministry as a lead pastor, right? 2 things I've learned in both fields. I am not a professional counselor. I'm not a professional therapist. I also learned that everybody does not have to learn through conflict,
Yeah.
because we have normalized everything has to be conflicting for you to grow in your marriage. That is a lie from the devil. That's a
Come on, how the
spirit
church lied
that
about
is
that.
cultivated from whoever is counseling you.
But conflict isn't always a difference. It could be, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you
Absolutely.
explain that to me?
But the tension that comes with it lets you know the level of conflict that you have within yourself or within the relationship. And if everything is a blow up, or I need to talk to the pastor because you chose this ketchup over that, over mustard, there is a spirit attached to it. Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and I know a lot of different couples, and they don't argue about nothing. It's like we got to stop making arguing such a norm to normalize you being an argumentative person or having an argumentative spirit about every little thing. No, you like to argue. That's not normal. It's okay. Like,
Go to law school.
Yeah, go to law school. Because the thing is, if we having a difference, I can have a difference without me blowing up. And a lot of people don't know how to control their inner peace. And a lot of
accept
people,
the difference.
yeah, and a lot of people have to understand that your pastor isn't a marriage counselor.
Yeah, I mean, and the gift about collaboration doesn't mean I have to our how we feel about stuff has to be synonymous.
Exactly.
It's that I hear you.
They don't have to be in
And
tandem.
what it doesn't have to be in tandem. I hear you. And what you like is what you like. And if your love language is gift giving, but mine is acts of service, I have to collaborate with you to learn to love you in the way that you want to be loved,
Power
Yeah.
to pull.
which might be gift giving. Right. The power to pull.
The pastor or not. Yes, indeed. And this is so good. And like I said, and I'm looking at the time, like we could be here and we may have to run this one back because this is always so very good. And I really appreciate the insight. And you're absolutely right. It's like I call it the 4 gears of great relationships. And conflict is one of those gears, but it has to turn.
It
has to be able to
stay
turn.
something.
Go ahead.
It has to turn at some point. Go ahead.
We still in here. It's like, but go ahead, Pastor Steve. So we still got Pastor Stebo here on the deal as we wrap up this I Declare Love segment, because again, these are all good. And I think we should just have another segment about communication and conflict, because to your point, that conflict is a natural part. I mean, you wake up internally in conflict. Like, do I put on the red shirt?
Exactly.
Or the black shirt?
You personally got conflict.
It's not this war.
You wake up. It's a natural part of life, but being able to disagree and not argue, that's a different skill.
And respect you with how you like something, understand something, interpret something. And the main point of resolution in conflict is to gap the bridge of misunderstanding.
Exactly. So that means we need communication, conflict, and comprehension.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are talking.
That's what we do. We help you learn how to design, build, and maintain a healthy relationship.
Yeah, like, did you comprehend? Because I could be communicating with, but now I may need to say it in Spanish.
And if you say it in Spanish, I don't understand it, because again, it's like you have to be able to say it in a way that I can understand you, or we're not communicating. Pastor Steve, and we're gonna hear this and we're gonna wrap it up. What you got?
Hola. First of all, no,
just kidding.
But, no, I was just saying that there's a healthy element of argument that is missing in a lot of relationships. A lot of people mistake arguing with active fighting, and that's not necessarily the truth. An argument means just what it is. You have a certain way that you think of something. I have a certain way of thinking something, and we can talk about it in an argument without having to fight. It's a healthy way of arguing that a lot of people aren't privy to, and they need that kind of counseling, not necessarily from your pastor, because as you said, we're not necessarily guidance counselors. I mean, we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know, and you can't fault us for that, because you don't know either. I mean, let's be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's very real. And as we land this plane, as I like to call it, because we do a lot of engineering analogies here.
I like that, but no, he's right. Yes. Arguing does not always mean we're fighting.
It's like we're not fight. We don't have to fight, because that's happening. And I think, like I said, you guys just get collaboration is the word of this. What do you want people to take away? So as we talked about a lot of various things. What's the one piece of advice again for people who love the Lord and want to love and be loved? Be they married, be they single, because I love and I say all the time, happily married and happily single, though different marital statuses, they're the same state of mind.
Come on.
And so as people walk away and we wrap up this I Declare Love segment, what's one thing that you want people to take away as they are, learning to love that they may not have learned in church?
I would say, once again, we talked about it earlier, be fruitful and multiply what God has called your union to multiply. I think that's the preach right there. Yeah. What has God called this union to multiply?
Union to multiply.
Yeah, that got in my shondo earlier.
Yes. I would say don't allow people to come at you in an unsolicited way with their chaotic experiences.
Exactly.
I didn't ask for it. I don't want it, and I'm not taking it on. So
take on other people's stuff in the name of Jesus, or whatever name you got. Like, I love that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the I Declare Love podcast, How the Church Lied About Love. Drop your comments, your questions, your thoughts. Continue to do that in the chat. We might have to run this back, because again, this got way more energy here. Pastor Stebo, thank you so much for joining us as well.
Nice to meet y'all.
He's from St. Louis. Are you can share St. Louis, Missouri, right? Like right where we're from.
I'm a thug.
Where the big people come from.
I see.
For those of you that listen again, if you want to learn more about, again, how to get on this pathway to love, do make sure you go to betheonelove.com. Grab the pathway to love, because there is a process. There is steps like that to be able to design and build. And maybe you didn't get it from the church. And even if you did, still download the pathway to love so you can continue to build the love that you truly deserve and desire. And so, good night. Grow in love.
NBC. No relation to NBC.